barricade. We had huge throngs of reporters outside the courthouse, in the courtroom. We had a big fish on the line.
At his trial, Gotti was defended by flamboyant mob lawyer Bruce Cutler. For many years, Cutler has continued to act as Gotti's apologist.
He had a remarkable insight into others, like a sense, almost a sixth sense, if you will, to size people up.
Gotti could certainly size up a jury. In March 1987, the trial reached its conclusion. Gotti was acquitted of racketeering. But unknown to law officers, a juror had been bribed by one of Gotti's men. Gotti was tried in 2 other cases, both for assault, both defended by Bruce Cutler.
I'll say with respect to defendant John Gotti, guilty or not guilty?
We find him not guilty.
Both times, the Gambino boss got off. Bribery and intimidation of witnesses saw to that. The nickname the Teflon Don was born. Gotti was different to almost any other godfather. He made little secret he was a mafia don, and enjoyed that everyone knew he'd risen from Brooklyn poverty to become boss of bosses.
He was born dirt poor, was on the street since he's 12, was on the cover of Time magazine in his 40s, and he took on the system.
In the opinion of his former attorney, Gotti was a latter-day Robin Hood, standing up to those in power.
Jewish people, Irish people, working people, union people, construction workers, policemen. My father was a detective. Some of our strongest supporters that used to cheer for us were local police, not because they're allowed to, but it was the alphabetized government thugs we fought. The FBI, Internal Revenue, INS, CIA, those faceless, robotic government thugs that come at you and can destroy your life.
The murderous reality of Gotti's brutal reign was very different. Gotti's love of public adoration would be exploited by the FBI and prove to be the Teflon Don's undoing. In Sicily, crime fighters had a different problem to their colleagues in the United States. American mob boss John Gotti loved the limelight, but the head of the Sicilian mafia, Totò Riina, stayed out of sight. Prosecutor Giovanni Falcone was determined to hunt him down. Falcone needed a way of connecting mafia boss Riina to the crimes carried out in his name by his army of killers. The answer lay in America. Richard Martin was a leading official in the US Department of Justice. He and Falcone had worked together for years. Their biggest success, breaking the heroin smuggling link between Sicily and the United States, known as the Pizza Connection. Falcone relished his trips to the US.
The life that he led in Sicily was almost the life of a prisoner. He went from a bulletproof car to a protected office. Instead, when he came to New York, he could go shopping, he could go to restaurants, he could come to our offices, we could go to our homes and meet our families together. And so for him, New York was like freedom.
Falcone's visits to New York were for more than pleasure. He had been greatly impressed at the state's tough anti-mafia laws, laws that allowed the US government to target mafia boss Paul Castellano and to bust the commission.
I think it also liberated his thinking and allowed him to sort of see beyond his own sort of realm coming here. So I think he not only enjoyed it, but I think it was very good for his vision of the way that he was going to attack the mafia and the way in which he would work with Italian law enforcement.
In 1991, a new justice minister took office in Rome, determined to finally crush the mafia. He offered Falcone a job at the ministry as overlord of the anti-mafia campaign throughout Italy. Falcone jumped at the chance of leaving Palermo and putting into practice the lessons he had learnt in the United States. His ideas were revolutionary. An Italian equivalent of the FBI was to be formed. Across Italy, the fight against organized crime would be centralized under Falcone's control. Riina, the beast from Corleone, felt threatened. A few years before, he had failed to kill Falcone at his beach house. Now Riina would try again. On the 23rd of May, 1992, Falcone and his wife Francesca returned to Palermo for the weekend. A few miles from the airport, several of Riina's men had placed a half-ton bomb in a drain pipe under the highway that ran from the airport to the city. The men then hid in a building above the road, armed with a remote control detonator. A massive explosion ripped open the highway. The explosion was so enormous, it registered on local earthquake monitors. Giovanni's sister, Maria Falcone, was at home when she heard the news of the explosion.
Sono scappata appena mio marito mi ha detto di che si trattava.
When my husband told me what had happened,
alla
I rushed
polizia,
out
mi
of
hanno
the
detto
room.
che l'avevano portata in
I phoned the
ospedale.
police.
Sono arrivata
They
in
told me
ospedale.
Giovanni had been
Là
taken
mi
to
è venuto
hospital.
incontro
When I
il
got there,
fratello di Francesca
Francesca's brother
per
told
dirmi che
me
Giovanni era morto in quel
Giovanni's
momento.
dead.
Beh, questo è il momento più
This was the
triste
saddest moment ever.
per me. Ma era il dolore anche come cittadina italiana,
Not only for me as a
perché
sister,
perdevamo
but also as an Italian citizen.
con Giovanni
Because
una
we
grande
felt that in losing
possibilità di
Giovanni,
sconfitta
our
finale
greatest
di
chance
Cosa
of beating the mafia had gone.
Falcone was not only a colleague, I was proud to think of him as a colleague, but a friend. I was enormously saddened, and it was as if part of what we all worked for had been lost.
Riina reputedly threw a party, toasting Falcone's demise in champagne. Along with Falcone, his wife Francesca and 3 bodyguards were also killed. Thousands gathered at the church of San Domenico in Palermo for their funeral, waiting patiently for hours in the rain. The funeral was broadcast live on national TV, Across Italy, all regular television programs were suspended. Parliament declared a day of mourning.